Welcome back to Out of the Darkness. Thank you for joining us on our super special Saturday night stream. We were gonna try to do this last night, but unfortunately, health would not allow us to do so. So, yes, we are out here on Saturday night and making them hoes mad.
I thought they were already mad.
The hoes mad, but we just making sure they stay mad. We don't want to give them any reprieve from their madness. So yeah, we want to make sure they leave downright pissed. So yeah. So what's going on? We've got Soder here, and I think we got a special guest, Mr. Trudeau.
We have Mr. Trudeau from Canada up in the Soder studio.
Up in the Soder studio from Canada, eh?
Down in the Soder studio because we're technically in the basement.
Yeah. But unfortunately, he's in blackface, so he wants to stay off camera tonight. So
the camera sweeps me, will get taken down.
Yeah, we got this facial recognition software going on. They can see through that blackface. So yeah, we got to keep them off. So what's up, QAnon? Hey, not much, everybody. So hey, but hey, thank you very much for taking time to join us. We got a fascinating show for you. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. And we're gonna make fun of some assholes tonight. So that's always a whole lot of fun. It's always nice being on the side of right. Always a lot of fun. And we've got the boomer of all boomers.
Oh my gosh!
Can we get the entire?
Hold on, I gotta work on this.
Hey, so real quick, I want to get the entire stream to wish Mr. Tim. Boomer Tim, a happy belated birthday. So yeah, happy birthday to you there, buddy.
Yeah, sorry, I was out to dinner with my wife and friends for my birthday and time got away from us. So you're getting me from my, don't I look good in this on my phone?
Actually, I tell you what, in the darkness, you're a much better looking dude.
I like as with all people, I look way better in candlelight.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I would have to say, man, you definitely have a face for radio. So
absolutely.
But well, hey, so where can I ask? Not the specific location, but what did you guys have for dinner then?
Japanese hibachi.
Oh, okay. I know where you went then. Fantastic. So. How was that? Well, I ask? It's always fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was really good.
Oh, cool. So did you ride with Lady Boomer, or is she with you?
She's back there, and then here's Mike, and there's Michelle.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll be on my best behavior. How are you doing, ma'am?
That's okay. I warned them about you guys.
About you people? What do you mean, you people?
I said you guys.
What do you mean, you guys?
Hey, we have a third party here that doesn't necessarily identify. He's from Canada. We have Trudeau here.
Yeah, we don't say guys anymore. We say people.
Yeah, you gotta say people.
Not pals or buddy.
I'm not your buddy, guy.
Can I say? So don't. So you people.
You people. There you go.
Somehow that's gonna be saying you people is gonna be appropriating to people before long.
Well, see, but I said, what do you mean, you people? I tried to help you out from the get-go. So we arrived at this destination like 10 minutes ago. You're just now reaching the party.
Okay, good.
Oh man. So anyway, great to have you. Congratulations on another great year. Yeah, we're excited to have you on the show. We got a lot going on, as you well know. Oh my gosh, man, that's loud. But as you well know, the Dems are losing their mind right now.
Yep, they are.
So the other thing I'm really, really concerned about, you and I are friends on Facebook, and we have some mutual friends. I think we got to get back to teaching civics in school.
Why is that?
Yeah. You're talking about what exactly is impeachment and what it's not.
What exactly it is? I actually had people saying, "Well, Donald Trump is out. Our new president is Mike Pence."
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Nancy Pelosi. I thought it was Bernie.
Well, no, I actually had someone, Tim. I had someone tell me that Mike Pence was our new president and Nancy Pelosi was his de facto vice president.
Nice.
I thought, wow, what a effed up world we would be living in.
I think that might be even funnier than President Trump.
I tell you what, you guys
that'd be like the first days of the United States where we had, one party is the front runners were the president and vice president, right?
Right.
Where they could be different parties.
No, can you imagine that? Think about that, though. That Trump were to get reelected, but his vice president was Bernie Sanders.
I'd pay to watch that sitcom.
That would be a Huh?
That would be funny.
Down in Iowa, the lieutenant governor is a separate election. So you've had Republican governors and Democrat lieutenant governors before.
I mean,
and I think down in Iowa, the lieutenant governor is the president of the Senate, I think.
That's amazing to me. Think about that. Just think about that for just a second, though. How amazing that would be, and how entertaining that would be. But
just think of all the stuff that wouldn't happen because they would be fighting.
Well, now,
if we think the Congress is inefficient now, just imagine if the president and vice president weren't even on the same page.
Well, I think technically, I'd have to look this up, but isn't the vice president technically a separate election? We just through our system, we have running mates, and they just go hand in hand. So that's how we vote. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's how it is now.
I don't think. Yeah, but I don't think it's a requirement, though. I'd have to look at the Constitution, but I think it's separate.
So I could vote for president.
No, because
Trump,
when you look at because when you look at the ballot, they are running mates on the ballot. But I think that's just what we kind of agreed to in the rules.
Well, can we just go ahead and agree that we're going to vote for President Trump, but we're going to write in Tim Miller for vice president?
Hey, that sounds great, because I'll tell you what, back when I was about 22, 23 years old.
Can you remember that far back?
I got 3 people that wrote me in for Congress down in Iowa, and I think that was like foreshadowing. There was a guy running unopposed, so they wrote my name in the other side. I know 3 people that did it.
Wow. So you were actually voted for.
I was underage because I was like 23, so I didn't qualify, but still.
30 years before you actually got into politics. So it was written in stone.
Probably.
That's fantastic. Well, cool bean. So
we're limited on time tonight, right? Don't we go up against 10 and then that's it?
We're not. This won't be as long of a show, but I had to talk about it. So, guys, we're just in an amazing place right now, and this is historic.
Oh my gosh.
Tim,
you're gonna get Sutter to say "and historic."
No,
yes,
but
in a sentence,
ahistoric.
And historic.
No, I was like, mute yourself. I'm getting feedback galore.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of feedback from you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming out your speakers and going straight into your mic.
Well, then here, I'm going to have to do this. You're going to have to not see my pretty face.
Oh, that's fine. We can barely see it anyway.
We can't see your face anyway. So yeah.
So there, I'm on the phone. This is probably better for the people in my car anyway.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, they can think you're crazy.
Yeah. And plus that kind of, weren't you violating some laws there? Your own laws?
I'm not driving.
Oh, you're not driving.
No.
Well, so you're getting chauffeured around and everything. Well, you're getting the royal treatment.
Rep?
Besides, I can be on a live stream in the car. I just can't hold the phone.
Isn't watching video part of that? Like, aren't you not supposed to be watching the video?
That's what I'm telling you. I told you the law was stupid.
What a well-written law. Did you write that yourself? Was it written in crayon?
It was written in crayon. I don't even. We cannot go down this road of this stupid hands-free law. But I will down that road. But I will say this: that understand that it's a classic example of when you can't get anyone to agree on anything, and then they come up with a bill where no one can seem to disagree as loud as they disagreed with the other bills, and that's what passes, and that's what we call compromise. Doesn't have to make sense; it just has to have people not crabbing about it.
So I 100% agree, and it's funny because right now we're looking at an historic time in our history, and Tim, I'm not taking digs at you in any way. Not.
But I'm about to.
But it's coming. No. But I mean, the last time we were in a position like this, is your camera still on there, buddy?
It'll be fine. Sorry, I'm doing this. Say that again. I had to tell the rest of the people in the car that sorry I'm an annoyance, but they can talk if they want.
Your camera's still on. There you go. I can still see it.
Well, I mean, just as long as we're not looking at his face.
Okay, now we're okay.
All right.
Well, you're getting a real interesting picture of my face then.
Yeah,
that's even better.
Much more flattering. So, okay. So, but we're in a historic place. The last time we were in a place like this in our country's history was
Clinton.
It was Clinton, right? But the difference is that Clinton was actually charged with legitimate crimes. I mean, these were crimes that were actually.
Congress.
Huh?
He lied to Congress. That's what the charge was.
Well, he lied to Congress, but I mean, there are also other charges that were brought in the trial, in the Senate trial. But I mean, but yeah, but I mean, they actually made some stuff up for Trump, right? I mean, these weren't actual. I mean, abuse of power. Are you kidding me? I mean, if we were going to start trying people for abuse of power, half of Congress would be gone tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But I made the argument last night on Nick's stream that's his job. His job, as a president is to keep Congress in check, and Congress's job is to also keep him in check, right? I mean, it's separation of powers. But we're in a historic place where we're being told, and unfortunately, because I don't feel that they are doing a good job of teaching young people civics today in school. These young people are just in a place where they're just believing whatever talking heads on TV are telling them that they should believe. And to be real honest with you, we're in such a messed up place, in my opinion, that people are just, whether they're Democrat or Republican, whoever is saying what I like, that's who I'm going to listen to. So we get into these echo chambers, right? But with that being said, I mean, I'm hearing all types of crazy stuff. I'm hearing things from, Judge Judy is the Supreme Court justice to Mike Pence is going to be worse and he's our new president, to Trump is going to get a third run in office. And I'm thinking all of you guys are absolutely insane and absolutely nuts. So you tell me, Tim, because obviously you understand the difference between the real world and the political world, and they're not the same. You would agree with that? They're not the same. Nope. What makes sense commonly is not necessarily what makes political sense. So tell me this, Tim, why, after seeing what happened to the Republicans after this similar situation with Clinton, why would they waste this amount of political capital? Why would they spend this amount of political capital trying to get rid of Trump in an election year, essentially?
Well, you just kind of that's the answer is they need to get rid of him before the election, or I think that their hunt their thinking is that she's so tarnished a president with an impeachment that there's no way that he could be reelected. I just think that they're misguided in that.
Half of their base doesn't even know what impeachment is.
Right. So, well, and I can tell you, if you want to know the understanding of impeachment, I had a guy walk up to me at the post office the other day and asked if I had a vote in that impeachment or not. I'm a state representative.
Well, I saw that Colin Peterson decided to vote against.
He voted
it,
no.
So, yeah. So
if he would have voted yes on that, it was basically his retirement vote. So there was no way that he was going to vote on that. And then a couple of the other blue dogs are becoming Republicans. So
so they're already losing seats, and we haven't even had an election yet.
So here's the deal. I think what they're doing is politically foolish. Okay, the Democrats, I mean, Pelosi and team. I think what they're doing is absolutely foolish, and they're going to get their tails kicked. And I think what happened in Britain was an indicator of what's going to happen. They think otherwise. They think that this is their strategy by which they can regain the presidency. And ultimately, because here's the deal, the Senate has to basically, you have the House come over. This part I forgot about, but there's actually someone from the House that comes over and is basically the prosecutor over in the Senate, okay?
Sure.
And then they have what's essentially a trial, and then the jury is the Senate, right?
Sure.
Well, especially since Trump didn't really commit any true, high crimes and misdemeanors of the United States, there's no way the U.S. Senate in Republican majority is going to vote him out of office. It's not going to happen.
Right.
And so now what it looks like now is they're not even going to get that far, because now Pelosi is doing this new thing where she isn't delivering the impeachment findings over to the Senate. It's just, there's so many things bizarre happening in our national political scene right now. And they do so many different things that are not only unprecedented, but quite frankly, unconstitutional, but they keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
And someone says, when are you going to hold them accountable? I'm like, well, you guys need to hold them accountable because you need to vote them out of office. That's how you hold them accountable. And here's a real important point for everyone. Okay. This is probably the most important thing that you learn when you're in the legislature.
Hey, Tim, I don't mean to cut you off. I love Michael Jackson as much as the next guy, but he's overshadowing you. So
okay.
You got to look at the man in the mirror and tell him to change his ways.
Yep. So you could hear that. That was the exact song playing. So, but anyway.
We're going to get copyright struck. They're going to take all the revenue from this stream. All 5 cents of it.
Yeah.
We're going to demonetize it completely.
Yeah. Every dollar we were going to make on this stream is going to blanket.
So here's the important point. In the legislature, we say if you have the votes, then nothing else matters. Okay? And right now the Democrats have the votes in the U.S. House of Representatives. So they create reality because they have the votes. Now, historically, I'm sure there's been other times similar to this, but in modern history, at some point, reality kind of puts enough pressure to where they don't necessarily vote, in unison to do whatever they're going to do. Okay.
Sure.
But in recent years, they do. And if it's for the betterment of gaining control of power for the Democrats in this case, they're all going to vote in line. You saw Angie Craig, U.S. Congresswoman from CD2 here in Minnesota. She voted for impeachment. Now she can feel a little bit comfortable because there's not a strong candidate coming forward. But if this is a seat that's been Republican forever that she just won this last election, she's definitely a risk. If there was at all a viable candidate in CD2, she's going to get killed this next election. And yet she still voted for the impeachment because Pelosi said you're going to vote for the impeachment.
Yeah.
So you have multiple Democrats that are in vulnerable seats that are going to, quite frankly, just lose because they're in what they call Trump's districts, where Trump won those districts.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb here and say that I think that Trump will win by a margin not seen since Reagan in his second term.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, let's look at it this way. The Trump administration seriously believes he can win Minnesota. Reagan didn't even win Minnesota.
Yeah. Essentially, if any Democrat or any Republican that wins Minnesota is going to win everything by a long shot. So yeah, that's not even funny. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see. But we started off having a conversation because unfortunately we've become so politicized in this country. People who never even gave a rip about politics are now political, right? And going back to the way that things, the good old days, as Soder would say, going back to the good old days when the two front runners essentially had to work together, no matter what side of the aisle they fell on. Can you imagine being in that type of scenario today, where the front runner of the Republicans and the front runner of the Democrats, that they had to essentially work together for 4 years? We'd be in gridlock. Nothing would ever get done. They would be constantly undermining. So Tim, tell me, how do we get back to a place of civility where we can actually put the country before everything else? I mean, it almost feels like a broken marriage at this point, does it not?
Yeah, well, that's the $64,000 question for us boomers. We'd understand that reference. You guys probably don't.
I don't get it. $64,000. That sounds really expensive.
It was an old game show, $64,000 question.
Oh.
So that's the big question that no one can seem to unravel. I think here's one thing that I'll say it's small, but it is an encouragement, is that people seem to value, the average citizen values people that are genuine. That's something that's really coming out. Someone that comes across as genuine, and you can't hide genuineness. You can fake it for a little while, but it eventually shows up if you're not truly that. Someone that's authentic, you hear that word a lot. And authentic, genuine people tend to be people of higher character. And these fakes and these people that are just horrible at what they do, I don't know what it looks like or when, but I do think that there's going to be that tide change. To boast on myself a little bit, that's what I strive to be, is authentic in front of people. And I had a town hall. You were at it, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago?
Sure.
And the people that were there to basically be my nemesis, to basically troll my my town hall, they disagreed with me on a lot of stuff, but they thanked me at the end for an open and honest conversation on things.
Soder almost got us kicked out of there, by the way.
What did he do?
Because he was trolling all the liberal women.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I was trying to do my best. Although I heard BLM showed up.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard Black Lives Matter showed up in the town hall.
Questions for you there.
I love how you had your moment. Your one question. Can I ask one question? And we're all riveted.
I'm actually surprised you called on me. I thought that other guy was going to be the last one. And then he said, you in the back.
And you asked if we read Anthem by Ayn Rand. I was like, 98% of the people in there had no idea what you were talking about.
Well, I'm surprised well, Tim, it was your fault. Like, if Soder asks if he can ask a question, you go to someone else. Don't ever let him ask a question in public. You should know better than that. Yeah. Like I thought you were smarter than that. I didn't think you would actually take his question. Hey, tell him to send it to you in email form, and you'll get back to him at a later date.
That's right.
But so that's essentially, if anybody were to ask me what we want to do here at Out of the Darkness, what our core goal is, it's simply that, like we were talking about, it is bringing civility back to disagreements, right? Put it in the country above our own personal feelings. You and I don't always agree with things. We agree probably more than what we don't. But what I find is, no matter who we bring on here, whether it was Tony from a couple weeks ago, who's completely a black supremacist, right? And that's fine. To having, Fatty Caddy on, someone who's, I would consider to be somewhat of a white supremacist, right? Huh? Okay, so
What?
I was trying to be kind, but a white supremacist. But at the end of the day, we all have things that we can agree on, and that to most people on the left, Tim, that would just be an angering thing for me to even say that I could actually find common ground with a white supremacist. Like, how could you possibly do that? That's just terrible. But I mean, even though mom and dad aren't married anymore, if they have kids together, they have to try to get along to some extent to co-parent, right?
Yeah.
And we have to co-govern. There's a country out here that needs to be run, and somehow we have to figure out how to make it work. And the reason why I love having you on so much is because I do feel that when we look at Minnesota politics, I feel that Minnesota is a microcosm of what is going on a federal level, right? And what I mean by that is we do have a very, very small geographic portion of our state, a small geographic portion of our country essentially runs the politics, right? You have the coast that run the politics for the United States. And unfortunately, in the state of Minnesota, I feel that a lot of when you talk to everyday people in most of Minnesota, they're very, very conservative people, right?
Yep.
But then you get to places like Duluth and places like Minneapolis, St. Paul. You get to Rochester, and you start to have a little bit different philosophy, right? But even with those people, I feel that we have common ground, and we have probably more in common than what we have against each other. Would you agree with that?
Yes and no. So yeah, everything that you said, I totally agree with. There's just a little bit of a nuance that I want to add to that, just a little bit of a different, because you're fundamentally right. But the challenge that we have, and this shouldn't cause the acrimony. It does, but the one challenge we have is people will come to me and say, well, can you compromise? Well, let's compromise. We'll find the middle ground where everyone gets a little bit of something. Well, that's okay on some issues, but some of the bigger issues that we have, we're not even in the same. I said, think of it in this term. You always think linearly. I'm on this side, you're on the other side, and we find middle ground somewhere. We're like on different planes, on different three-dimensional planes on some issues where there's no such thing as a middle ground. The case in point, well, no, that's a bad example. I don't open that one up. There was one where I said something.
Let's open it up. No, you started. I'm curious.
Okay, it's not let's open example, it up. But I'll give it. It's not a good example. Okay, but what I was trying to do is what you saw blow up on Facebook with me a couple days ago is I basically said there was an article in Life News where there were some kids that wrote letters to President Trump thanking him for his position on fighting against abortion, and they said they were alive because people stood up against abortion.
Sure.
And what I did was I took that article, which I thought was a good article. In Trump, you can say what you will about a lot of different things, but I will say with conviction, he's been appointing pro-life judges, and he's been pushing agendas that are very pro-life, more than any other president I've seen, by far. By far. And he's actually doing things. And so I basically said that, and then I also, and I forget the context of how I said this, but I said we're in a time, the abortion issue today is very similar to the 1850s and 1860s on slavery. Okay, a lot of the arguments, and I stand by that. Well, the response is below. I'm talking about slavery in 1852 as it relates to how we look at abortion in the U.S. And I had two different guys that just lit up on me. How dare you bring in the civil rights movement and compare it to abortion? And Donald Trump. And I was like,
Tim, how could you?
Well, but here's the deal. I wasn't bringing in civil rights. I was bringing
it was your white privilege that allowed you to do something like that.
Right. But when I say we're on different planes, if someone thinks that like I am a racist because I compared the way that the United States had to deal with slavery whether I'm right or wrong on my assessment, one has nothing to do with the other. But they were it wasn't just one person that said that. They had two for sure, and I think they got in an argument with some other people about the civil rights movement. And so again, I don't know if it's the best example, but if I'm talking about slavery,
you're saying that there's no middle ground, is what you're saying.
Well, it's hard to have middle ground when you're talking in two different places.
And I totally agree with that. But what I'm saying is that if you would have started off that conversation with those people saying, hey, you know, slavery was really jacked up. It was a terrible time in our nation's history.
I did.
And we need to figure out a way to grow from that and ensure that that type of situation never, ever, 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 ever happens again. I don't think that you would have had a single person, because I watched you in your town hall. I watched you take people who had showed up to show out, right? I mean, you could tell they showed up with their own agenda. They were passing out their own agenda, and their agenda was actually much longer than the agenda that you showed up with, right? And they had every intention of hijacking your town hall and bringing you to justice, right? And that was my take from it, and I think that you would probably agree with that. But you took a situation, okay, mental health for one, and you made a connection with those people on a human level. And those people looked at that situation and they said, you know what, this guy's really not so bad. And by the time we were done, the people who had every intention of hanging you and tar and feathering you and taking your platform and flipping it on its head actually thanked you for being there. They thanked you for coming, all because you found the common ground and you unified the room over that, even though you guys would probably disagree on it.
Well, here's the key.
On plenty of things.
Yeah, but here's what the key is, and it's not complicated. Okay, I tell people this. I say we can disagree on something as far as one end to the other. Okay, but if you have two characteristics in the conversation, you have integrity in what you're saying, and you have respect for the other person. I said, if you can bring those two into the room, and a willingness to listen, I suppose that kind of comes with that respect. Okay, that's an assumption under respect. But if you show integrity in who you are and what you're saying, and you have and part of the integrity also is really talking about the real thing, right? Don't be afraid.
Sure.
Just say it like it is, because it's okay if they disagree with you with that. But if you respect the other person, and those are the two things that I think are totally lost in politics right now. There's I don't think anyone would disagree that there's such a lack of integrity. And the example that I give for that is, you know, when you're in a caucus and you have a big issue coming up, any issue, but it really stands out pronounced when you have a big issue, the media people give you a list of talking points.
Sure.
You're not supposed to stray from those talking points. Okay. Now the talking points may help you win the argument, but the talking points aren't necessarily focused on what really needs to be discussed. They might not even really be totally focused in truth, but they are true enough to where you can say, this is where we stand on this. Stick with the talking points, right?
Sure.
So if you do that, you're not showing integrity to the subject, to have the honest conversation. You know, we were there to talk about the president in Appleton, which is a very volatile issue in the United States right now.
Sure.
Prisons and incarcerating people and stuff like that. You and I don't even agree on some of that stuff, okay?
I'm black. Of course I don't agree with modern day slave camps.
At the end, we may have to tell you about the funny story when we get to about it at the bar. That was funny. So anyway, you were wise and you were astute at that time. But anyway, so if you show the integrity, meaning, and what I mean by that is not only do what you say what you do, but you're willing to have the conversation about the real issues, and then you respect the other person. What I found is when I have someone in my office in St. Paul, and I can pretty much know, either because of the issue or their body expression, that they are basically hating me, right? They don't know who I am, but they hate me just at the outset, okay? One of the first things I try to do is try to humanize the situation, and you can usually find some sort of common ground, even if it's, you know, I find out that the other person has a special needs kid like I do. So you talk about that, or, you know, my wife's a nurse, and so you talk, and they are their spouses. So you talk about nursing. You find that there's a bit of a human relational thing that you start with that.
Yeah.
And then you can see the barriers start coming down. And then if you can do that first, and then you get to the conversation on the things you disagree on, the respect tends to be there, and you're not launching at each other with presuppositions and stereotypes and an assumption that the other person's out to get you, so you should get them first. So I do think that's the
Hello?
direction
we might have lost him. We didn't lose him.
We need to go in politics. The people that are listening is there's, are you there?
Yeah, we were losing you for a second. Go ahead. Uh-oh, we lost him.
Oh, he must be going through that dead space.
I think
you lost me. I can hear.
We were losing you for a second. So
hold on a second.
You must be going past Soder's house.
Okay.
While he's figuring that out, we do have a couple super chats to go through.
All right, go ahead and run those off.
Let me do this. And sorry.
First one from Orgasmic Whales for $2. Thank you, buddy. And I gotta say, an awesome dude. Met him this past week. Came down. He took me and Trudeau fishing. We had a great time.
Didn't catch anything, but we had a great time.
We did catch some weeds.
That's right. We did catch some weeds.
The real fishing was the friendships that we made.
You have to get out of it in the morning.
I'll be honest though, I'm not sure that he is legally on here. I think he's 12.
Oh,
Someone should have checked his ID.
First super chat is make sure TTS in Discord is on in Discord, everyone. And he did send a message to me with TTS and it said vote for Pinochet. And up next, also Orgasmic Whales for $5. And this is a question for Tim. Tim, what is your opinion on pornography and the current push to ban it? Also, how much would you sell your verified Twitter account for?
Oh, wow. Well, okay, let me answer that one first. I'll sell it to the highest bidder because I never use it.
Because capitalism, that's why. Oh man, you might get a bidding war started on this thing. You don't say that.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
It's happy holidays.
So anyway, to answer the first part of that, So to the first part of the question, where do I stand on the pornography and the push now to ban it? Number one, I wish we didn't have the pornography. I think it's destructive, and it's destructive in so many ways that we can make a whole show out of that. I also believe,
and we will.
And I also, and I'll talk about that in the future. I think I'm going to stay out here for a couple minutes. I just told my wife. I didn't call you honey, Soder. I called my wife honey.
Thank goodness.
So that'd be another.
Well, that's
show
legal
too,
now
right?
in Minnesota.
That's absolutely right.
How'd you vote on that, by the way? Never mind.
I did. I wasn't there, but I got elected because of that vote.
Sure.
My predecessor voted for it, and he got booted because of it.
Sure.
So anyway, on the pornography thing, it's destructive in so many ways. Okay, and I think it's infiltrated. It's just so pervasive that it's difficult to have the conversations on that. But I think the Supreme Court has also been consistent that although you don't have the same guarantees of freedom of speech like you do in political speech with pornography, there is a fundamental freedom of speech in pornography, and that's not going to go away. One of the things that we've tried to do in Minnesota is not make it illegal, but just discuss it as a health crisis. And it's a health crisis in younger people because they're developing brains that's causing problems. And I think if we, rather than worrying about whether, you're not going to outlaw it. I mean, how do you outlaw it, especially with the internet? It's silly. But I do think that if there's a way that we can address it for what I see as what it is, and try to address it with children and how we approach it with children, and have a better understanding of how we need to address it with men, then hopefully we can fix the problems associated with it. But you're not going to make it illegal. I'm not even going to try and make it illegal. Would I like to see it gone? Yes, I'd like to see it gone. But I live in the real world too.
I totally. We'll have to have a discussion at some point because, as you know, I consider myself to be a small L libertarian. We've had that discussion before. The reason why I say small L is because I do understand and realize that there is a place for government. I also realize that every other major organization out there is fighting and sitting at the and fighting for a place at the table, right? They're fighting for a place at the table because people argue that the government cannot legislate morality. I'm not sure exactly what that means. I understand, I think, what people mean when they say it, but that's what the government does. It legislates some form of morality. The problem is what version of morality are we actually pushing? Are we pushing the LGBTQ's version of reality? Are we pushing the Sharia law version of morality? Are we pushing the Muslims version of morality? Are we pushing the humanist version of morality? I mean, so everyone has their idea of what is right and what is good and what is moral. I'll be very, very honest. America's a Christian nation. I believe that Christians have to have a seat at that table. It is only necessary, and it is only prudent that they have a seat at that table. They have to speak up about what is right, what is pure, and what is good. And I think that that's only that will unify people, if nothing else. I wasn't going to get into a religious conversation. That's not what we're here. But I think it all ties together. It ties together because of where we are as a nation. And this is where I feel like the GOP is missing the boat, right? They're working so hard, Tim, and you understand this. They're working so hard to convert Black people and minorities into Republicans, and they're not actually giving people they're not giving people an identity. They're not telling people why they should be Republican. They're not unifying people. Hey, this is what the Democrats have done. And I feel like Trump to an extent did this, and this is why he's actually polling very well with minorities. So what do you have to lose? You guys have been voting for Democrats for the last 50 years and it hasn't gotten you anywhere. What do you have to lose at this point? And while they tore him up for that, I believe that a lot of people heard that message and they thought, you know what? He's right. We've been pulling for Democrats, been voting them in office. We have whole communities that are completely Democrat run. Every person in that community is Democrat. Places like Chicago, where I know not everyone in Chicago is Democrat, so don't.
Pretty close though.
But just about every major political office is run by a Democrat in that city.
Yep.
Baltimore the same way.
Well, really, and Minneapolis is pretty much that way too now.
And Minneapolis is a lot. But I'll be honest. Are they productive? Are they are those towns models for a fair society, right? And are people successful? Is there success there? I would argue and say no. I would argue and say that those places, I mean, we just saw Chicago. We were reading an article before we came on the show. There's I don't know if you heard about this, Tim, but I posted in our back channel that there's a officer there, a retired officer, who so far they found 20 cases in which people served jail time where they were actually innocent. 20 cases.
I saw that. Yep.
And that's just so far. I mean, they're just essentially, they don't know if they have gotten to the bottom of the thing or if they're just getting into the meat of it, right? I mean, so you talk about the Democrats will lure you in by talking about fairness and talking about, oh, we're going to just make this a fair society and people have suffered so much. But it would almost seem that in the places where they have the most control, that people are the most oppressed. And be very, very careful when people start to talk about when they start to try to control you with anger. When they try to harness your anger and tell you should fear something, or you should be afraid of these people, or you should be mad at these people, because those people are the people who seek to control you. And I think you would probably agree to that, would you not, Tim?
Yeah, 100%. That's what I actually used to tell my kids. I'd say, if someone can get you to be afraid of something, they have control over you. And you will do what they say to have you no longer be afraid. One of the things that I've tried to bring to this show, kind of a glimpse into how things work in politics, in the legislative side, is you'll hear me say things like, well, that's what they're saying, but this is what they mean.
Right.
I always say, and I always say, in a couple other things that I say is, when they tell you to look at their left hand, you probably should be looking at their right hand.
Sure.
And also don't listen to what they're saying, listen to or watch what they're doing. Because what happens in politics is, very good communicators, people that are skilled at providing keywords. And by the way, they pull a lot of the words that they use, and then they use them when they find that they pull strong. Okay. And so they'll use certain terms if they can compel people to do things. But when they tell you that they're doing something, so we're doing this for the poor. The Democrats will say that a lot. We're doing this for the underserved and stuff like that. They really don't. They really their actions don't fit consistent. Now there might be a lot of money associated.
Kind of like let's keep prostitution illegal for the women.
Why did Soder have to talk? So where you and then so you'll because you're right. If you look at the kind of the urban core, where liberalism has basically dominated for 2-3 generations, if not longer, but has really been accentuated, probably post-60s, really been accentuated, okay? They've dominated the politics, they've dominated policy, they control all the money, and yet there's still all the problems in the inner city, but they have those people convinced that it's, people outside of the inner city that are still doing this to them. And I'm like, your own people are doing this to you. And it's because then they have control over them. I've been told, I'm not in a black community. If you couldn't tell with the picture that you saw me earlier when I was on my phone, but I am, as white as they come, right? I'm German descent. And, but when they say that there is, they call them, like a black community leader. I've had people tell me that they in the city that those people act more like gatekeepers, and they have a lot of power and they have a lot of money and a lot of influence, but they don't even necessarily want their constituents to truly get up and be independent and be on their own, because then they lose the control of the situation. They control that they have power over them.
Absolutely.
And that's my problem with maybe not liberalism as a philosophy. I have some people that are mad because I said some pretty harsh things about liberals, and they're like, I'm a liberal and I'm not like that. Okay, so I usually talk about leaderships when I talk about the different, things like liberal, conservative, and stuff like that. But oh shoot, I just lost my point. Doggone it. That's what I get for going on a little rabbit trail.
Well, while you're thinking what your point is, we do have another super chat from the deep pockets of Asmodeus for $2, and I say that because he donates a lot. Not because this is $2. But he says, here's $2. Whale noises.
It's funny.
Oh, man.
Here's what I was going to say. So the liberal mindset, the liberal way that the way that they gain power is by building constituencies and having them go lockstep with it. And which, by the way, that's a lesson for anyone in politics. If someone knows they have your vote, like, you're not going to change the vote no matter what. And we all have those, okay? It's a rare person that is willing to step away from something. But if they truly have your vote, then they don't really care what you think, and they're just going to use you.
I understand that, but I would also argue, Tim, that the problem that the Republican Party has had is that they've also focused so much on the vote. It's all about the V, right? It's all about the V. Yep. And I feel that the Republicans have focused so much on the vote that it's more about how do we convert these minorities, because I mean that's what people are seeing as. How do you get the minority vote? I've had people ask me that. How do we get more people to think like you? The problem is that we're not in a fight for people's vote. We are in a fight for people's minds, and
Right,
we
but
can't lose sight of that.
Actually, let me kind of just kind of turn that a little bit, okay? Because in our republic, it is about the vote. If you don't have the vote, you don't have a say. But here's what happens: is people take the cheap route, take the easy route to get that vote by getting people worked up, inflamed, lie to them, do whatever you can to get that vote, right? But that's thin and hollow because it's not based on substance or truth.
You say that, but the Republicans are doing the exact same thing, Tim.
I agree.
At the end of the day, we're both sides.
I agree with you totally. That's what I'm trying to get to. Both sides have been doing that a lot, especially in the. It was funny because I always thought that this really started with the Republic, the contract with America, with Newt Gingrich. Okay, I always thought it started with that, and then Clinton kind of perfected it. And I would say that, and everyone would look at me like, "What the heck are you talking about?" Until someone talked to me a couple of weeks ago, and they said, "You know when all these problems started? Is with that contract with America with Newt Gingrich." Well, someone says something, I'm thinking they must be brilliant, right? They must be spot on. But that is about the time that I mean, I was pretty young at that time, so there may have been something before. But that's where you have this thin, easy way to get people excited enough to win the votes and swing them your way. But it's not with substance, because substance takes time. Substance takes a lot of work. It takes patience. Substance, sometimes you'll lose for a while before you win. But, in the beginning of this conversation, you said, what can we do to bring things back to a healthy state in our government? We have to have people of character and substance willing to step forward and do the work necessary to convince people in the room. And I'm not here to toot my horn, but you saw an example of that in Appleton that one night, right?
I did, and it got me thinking more about this situation. It got me thinking more about how, we focus so much on the federal level, but we will not win as conservatives. We will not win the battle until we learn to start fighting these battles on the local level. We have to those small town halls, because again, it's easy to teach people what to think. That's easy. We can set up systems by which we educate people in the schools. I mean, the Democrats have done a fantastic job of teaching people what to think.
Yes, they have.
mean, controlling the media conversation, controlling the news, the schools. I mean, so from every level, they are doing a fantastic. They're winning the battle with teaching people what to think.
You know how they started?
I mean, even on social media. I mean, essentially, think about it this way. I mean, I've started. Soder, you would probably agree with this. I've started some pretty big wars on Facebook with some of my posts. You've been involved in some of them.
Some of them they're pretty spicy.
They can be pretty spicy, but it's all there's a purpose for it though, because at the end of the day, it's actually more dangerous for me to come out as a black person in support of conservative ideals than it is for me to be a black person walking around in a predominantly white neighborhood. But most people would argue on TV and argue in the media that, oh my goodness, what a brave young man. He's walking around in Beverly Hills. He's walking around amongst the white people, among his oppressors. I'm not oppressed by anybody, right? But the greatest oppression takes place in our own minds, right? But I'm getting back to the purpose of this whole conversation. You said something very, 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 very beneficial for all of us, Tim, when you mentioned that it's so many times that the Democrats they will give us oppression, but they will wrap it in the skin of liberation, right? But really and truly, at the end of the day, the most oppressed people are the people who are living in those communities that are predominantly run by the Democrats. And I said on Nick's show yesterday, I said, it seems like when Democrats accuse, they're actually admitting, right? So I want to bring up a point to you. I want to ask your opinion about something, because there's been a whole lot of conversation made about President Trump and this phone call that to President Zelensky in the Ukraine, and how he was essentially trying to use the the government of the Ukraine to investigate his political rival. Well, first of all, we don't know who the Democratic candidate is going to be yet. The Democrats don't even know who the Democratic candidate is going to be yet. They know who they would like it to be. But in July of this year, at that time, if I'm not mistaken, the front runner was Elizabeth Warren, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't even Joe Biden at that point, right? So to say that he was attempting to use the government of Ukraine to investigate his political rivals is stupid. We don't even know if he's actually going to be the Democratic candidate. Number one. Number two, is that not what the Senate is doing? How many? We've got Amy Klobuchar, right? We've got Elizabeth Warren. We have Bernie Sanders. We have, I believe Kamala Harris is out now, but we also have Tulsi Gabbard. We also have, if I miss anyone, tell me, Soder, but we have Cory Booker as well. I mean, that's what, 6 people right there who are in the Senate.
It's a lot of people. Are
in Congress that are now about to launch an investigation against their political rival, because they know who their political rival is. It is going to be President Donald Trump. So I will be curious to see if these people are truly as loving and as caring and as I get a kick out of these people when they start talking about how, this is a constitutional crisis and it's for the Constitution. Okay, if you care about the Constitution as much as you want us to believe you care about the Constitution, I am going to say right here, right now on this show, that I want to see a full recusal of all of those people that I just mentioned. All of those people that sit in the Senate who are going to show up and are going to vote to impeach President Trump. How should they have the ability to vote to impeach their political rival? Is that not, are they not exercising the exact same privilege that they accused our president of abusing? So how is it any different? So I'm going to say they need to recuse themselves today. They need to recuse themselves for the trial in the Senate. That is only fair, that they recuse themselves from the vote.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. I agree with you.
So tell me, tell me this. Now, I think I've been accused of not being as pragmatic as you are. I'm idealistic, as people say. But with that being said, do you think it'll happen? Do you think that these people will recuse themselves? Soder, do you believe that they'll? Tim, you're not peeing, are you?
No.
Okay.
That's why I was laughing.
Yeah, there's a lot of talking. They thought that the noise going on in the background was you.
Quality show here, folks.
Making water. So hey, it's natural. Everybody makes water. So okay. So, but will it happen, Tim? Do you see a world by which Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, Cory Booker, it's not, I was going to say Emmanuel Sanders. Wow. No, Webster's not running. Bernie Sanders come out and they recuse themselves from voting to impeach their political rival?
No, I don't see it happening. Now, we aren't going to get that far in the Senate because the Republicans hold the Senate, and they want to have this impeachment part. They don't want to have the actual process to go through. They want the talking point.
Why not, though?
Why don't they want it to go to a vote?
Sure.
because they know it's lacking substance.
I understand it's lacking substance, but to my understanding, they are allowed to call witnesses, right?
Do you really believe, and I mean it, do you really believe that Nancy Pelosi believes that President Trump committed high crimes and misdemeanors to the United States of America? No, she doesn't at all.
They've admitted such. She didn't need, but in all fairness, so Nick was explaining to us that according to the Constitution, it is not required that he be convicted. They can convict him. They can draw up articles of impeachment for any reason. It does not have to be high crimes. So they didn't commit any wrongdoing by doing what they're doing legally.
No. They were well within their right. The House voted to impeach Trump, so that's what happened.
Sure. So they're well within their rights legally to do what they're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Where I draw the line, and the problem that I have with all of it, one of the problems that I have with all of it is now it's time for President Trump to call his witnesses. Now it's time for him to get an opportunity to bring his legal counsel in to defend themselves. I do not like the idea of an acquittal right off the bat of throwing the case out. I think that's a terrible idea. I think we need to call witnesses. I think people need to be heard. President Trump asked the president of the Ukraine to assist his attorney general in an investigation to find out, hey, what was going on here? Why was
you're touching? Go ahead.
Essentially, he asked, why was your I forget what they call, but your special counselor or your special prosecutor, why was he let go? We need to find out what happened there. So essentially, President Trump asking the president of the Ukraine to help him help his attorney general investigate this matter has caused this whole shazam that we're dealing with.
But see, they don't want the big reason why they're not sending it to the Senate is because he's going to have the opportunity to do that, and the Republicans are going to be able to swing back, right? They don't want that part because then they basically hand deliver. They know that they're not going to get a conviction in the Senate. It's just not going to happen.
Sure.
Okay. It's just not going to happen. The reason why Nixon resigned was there was a conviction coming, and I think it was bipartisan too.
Sure.
So, that's what happened back then. That's what this is supposed to be used for, is situations like that, not political gamesmanship sort of thing. High stake, very, very, very high stakes poker. This is about the power of the presidency. That's what all this is about, and taking it from someone. So the last thing they want to do is have the American public have the opportunity to hear the other side of the story, because in the Schiff or whatever his name is, who's the guy in the House?
Shifty Schiff, yeah,
Schiff. That's why he wouldn't allow any witnesses to come forward other than what they orchestrated. He totally orchestrated everything and controlled it from beginning to end without actual discussions, because the actual discussions would bring up, when you talk about what they accuse me of, it's what they're doing, or however you say it. What's getting lost in all of this is Hunter Biden was taking bribes
right.
for political favors. No one's talking about that, right?
Sure.
He was working for the oil company over there, and he didn't know anything about oil.
Sure.
Which, by the way, happens all the time. Even here in the U.S., that happens. People
of course it does.
These jobs, even though I don't know what the heck they're doing with it, but doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it right. That's a side issue. But anyway,
we're losing you again.
They don't want to have. They all think, I don't know what to do. I'm not moving.
Okay. All right. You're good now.
Okay. I was down. scratching my dog's belly. That must have been bad reception. See, now I forgot what I was going to say again.
Did you wash your hands first before you went and pet that dog?
No, why would I wash my hands before I pet my dog?
Well, we heard you go and pee here a second ago,
nope,
so we just want to make sure. You just want to make sure you're petting your dog with the cleanest of hands.
If I was peeing while I was on this show, I would have had the phone on mute. You would have never heard it. I would have just done it while you were going on one of your rants.
So there's been plenty of them.
Yeah. So anyway, I lost my point. Hey, listen, I will say at this kind of juncture, I'm real short timing here. I need to get off the horn here.
No worries, man. Well, it's been fantastic and great to have you on the phone. Like I said, I wanted to have this conversation because there's been a whole lot of discussion about both sides. There's been a lot of discussion from Republicans who say, "Hey, we won. This is what we needed to galvanize the base," which I believe there's a lot of truth in that. I do believe there is a lot of truth in that. But I also see a lot of blissful ignorance. I see a lot of people out there on the other side who believe that this was monumental and this is America standing up to fascism, which couldn't be anything further from the truth. Couldn't be anything further from the truth.
I agree.
But there's also a group of people brought up in this situation that wanted to ratify the Constitution to get Trump a third term, which I'm totally against that also. I'm totally against that. I know Soder and I have had some conversations. I personally like the idea of Article 5, the Convention of the States. Soder is
which, by the way, I have voted for it.
Well,
no, actually, I haven't voted for it. I'm a co-author on one of the bills.
Well, don't tell Soder that he's.
Well, oh my gosh, you've just lost my vote.
You know what? I have been back and forth on that issue. We should talk about the Convention of States. That'd be a great conversation some night. Because I've actually been on both sides of that issue, and right now I'm on the side of supporting it. So we need to have a conversation on that.
I think that's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take to bring us back around to a place of civility and a place of. I mean, I had the argument with someone today, and they said, "Well, you can do that, but just remember, we can come for your guns that way too." Good luck getting 3/4 of the states to go along with gun control. I mean, you see what's going on in Virginia right now. It's not going so great.
Hey guys, I'm gonna cut out here.
All right. Well, hey, have a great time. Enjoy your evening. Thank you for coming on, and enjoy the rest of your birthday weekend. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks
for taking. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
So, but yeah, we're not gonna stay too much longer. But hey, so you guys got a chance to see that video. So what we were talking about right before the show is we were talking about a video. And most of you guys have probably seen it. If you've seen it, let me know in the chat of the police officer walking into a home in was that Kansas, Trudeau?
It was Kansas.
Okay. So in Kansas, the police officer's in the home. A dog lunges at the police officer, and the police officer shoots at the dog, misses, or maybe he hit the dog, but ends up not killing, but shooting a 9-year-old girl.
Eye.
Huh?
He hit her in the eye. Oh.
Hit her in the eye.
Just when I thought I was sad enough.
Just it was as a parent, just hearing the conversation, it was sick. Like I love breakfast. I couldn't eat breakfast this morning. I was in rough shape. Just thinking about, if that were my kid,
I'm gonna say string them up in a tree, but I know how that would look.
Well, I don't know. I'm allergic to rope. I have this nasty reaction around my neck area when I see rope. So I don't think I could ever advocate for anyone being strung up in a tree. But there are other ways,
Well,
and we
anyone cursed who hangs on a tree.
yeah, we can go the Mike Pence method and add some electricity to it. A little conversion therapy. So
I know
We convert them from alive to dead.
That seemed to be popular.
Oh yeah, I guess we should vote for Pinochet 2020.
Vote for what?
Pinochet. 2020.
Pinochet?
Pinochet, yeah. Chilean guy, he threw communists from helicopters over open water.
Oh yes. Yeah, I'd be down for that. I'd be down for chunking some commies. It sounds like a whole lot of fun. So yeah, so shock therapy is the way to go. I agree with that, Senior and Meatball. We need to electrically shock anyone who hurts children and a lot of other people too. Basically anyone.
Worst things? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the worst things about this story that really bothers me is that it was a really small dog. That dog wasn't going to hurt the cop. The dog is barely bigger than my cat.
Yeah, was it a 30-pound dog or something like that?
30-pound English Bull Terrier.
Yeah, I'll be honest, man. Like I don't mean to, and shout out to anybody who's got family members maybe that have been killed by dogs, but I mean, I'm sorry. Any grown man that gets killed by a dog, like I'm sorry, survival of the fittest, yo. Like if you get killed by a dog, you kind of deserve what you get. Like that's no offense, and I know that I'm gonna piss some people off, but I mean, now I understand if it's like a smaller guy and it's like, I personally, Soder, you've seen my dog. My dog is what, 225 pounds.
Your dog is like a moose.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's different, but we're talking about a 30-pound damn dog, right? I mean, first, one of the top 5 rules, we had an argument about this earlier. Trudeau is Canadian. So of course, what do they know about guns up there in the great state of Canada?
Nothing at all.
He says, I think that's rule number 4. And I'm like, I think it's rule number 3. You gotta be aware of your surroundings. Anything you shoot, you have to understand that bullet has to go somewhere. It's probably not going to stop in your target, especially if you're shooting a dog. And unfortunately, it came to rest in a 9-year-old child, and that's just sick. Absolutely sick. So I can sick dogs on cue and face no repercussions. Then, nah, man, sorry. People have already beat you to the whole sicking dogs. You can sick a Boston Terrier on me any time you want. The German Shepherds, though, yeah, that shit is dead. So sorry, we can't do the German Shepherd thing. But anytime you want to send a Boston Terrier after me, you send it after me if you want. Unfortunately, I can't be responsible for what happens to the terrier. So, but yeah, that was messed up. I mean, to not even take consideration. I mean, one of the things I've always been concerned about, Soder, and I guess I'll get a little bit more personal than what I typically do. I am definitely a strong proponent of the Second Amendment, right? And I've always feared the idea, what if I had to use my weapon in my home, right? I've shot my weapon in my home before.
Trudeau's over here chuckling about shooting off weapons in the home.
Well,
I think he's going the liberal route of, well, if you have a gun, you have a small penis.
Hey, yo, hey Trudeau, you need to.
Yeah, he is. He's not a yes. My assessment is correct.
You need to go see Soder's wife get you some of them makeup removal wipes and get that blackface off and come on the camera and say that to my face, okay? Okay, so I'm joking, by the way, but anyway, so but that is the argument that we often have, is that, you know, okay, so if you were going to use that weapon, you need to know exactly what that weapon is going to do. And so I have shot a gun off indoors in the house, and the percussion. You're deaf for a while, so you know this. I mean,
I have not shot my gun off inside.
But you also know that you're not going to hear anything for a while, right?
Oh yeah, even outside it hurts for a little while.
So you've got three little kids. You've got 3 little kids around you, and you decide to discharge a firearm in a living room. If nothing else, these kids are going to suffer at best it's temporary ear damage or hearing loss, right? Over a damn dog. Take the bite. I mean, you know, police officers love tasering things. Taser the damn dog, you know. But to whip out
shooting things.
Shoot a taser.
Huh?
You shoot a taser.
You can shoot a taser also, but it's non-lethal also. So, you know, I understand that police officers have a very difficult job. I'm not going to get into that argument about police officers have a dangerous job, because statistically, police officers' jobs are not nearly as dangerous as many of the jobs that people do in America or even in Canada. So let's be real about that. Do I respect police officers? Absolutely. I respect most. I respect the office. I respect most police officers. I respect their authority. But I'm not about to kiss a bunch of police officers' asses by saying that, oh, well, they do something that none of us, no one else can do or no one else will do. Let's pump the brakes on that one. So I think I probably just lost half of our subscribers by saying that, but it is what it is.
You aren't going up against danger, but have you ever fought a dog the size of a raccoon?
Yeah, I have. I have not. I imagine it would be quite an exhilarating experience, though.
No, I got bit by a Great Dane once. That was not fun. That dog was 3 times the size of this dog.
But see, Great Danes are different, though. I mean, I mean, come on now. This was not a Great Dane. This was
exactly.
This was a 30-pound dog. Like,
on one hand, I kind of go, well, this is kind of getting into more academic for me, but like, if the dog is standing still enough to shoot, is he really a threat? I mean, what are you thinking about if you're shooting a dog? Like, oh my gosh, he's standing still. I'm going to take this opportunity to shoot him. Because once he starts moving, he's difficult to shoot, right?
Sure. Yeah, true.
Especially a small dog like that. So are you preemptively getting rid of a potential threat?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I watched the video and it looked like the dog was kind of coming at him, but it's a small dog. Just kick it.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Kick it or
anything but risk.
Because a bullet's small too, right? Like, and you being able to,
it's easy to miss a small dog.
Realistically realistically hit that target at such a close distance. With you, the pistol instructors are always telling me when you have all that adrenaline running through your system, you're gonna miss. So you got to train to aim small all the time, because that circle of hits is gonna get bigger.
I can only get 60% of my shots on target with my friend's Glock at 10 yards. And the target isn't moving.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, and that's the argument that I've had with a lot of my macho buddies, right? You know, of course, everyone is always telling me, "Oh, you gotta carry a 45. You And and my bride carries a 380, and everyone's always giving me a lot of crap about, well, 380, what are you trying to do, tickle the guy? And well, no, at the end of the day, you're trying to stop a threat. But first and foremost, shot placement is everything, and the thing that concerns me the most is over penetration. With a 45, that bullet, there's not a person. I'm a pretty big dude. That slug is not coming to rest in me. It is going to over penetrate. It is going beyond me. What is beyond me? If there is a puppy on the other side of me, when you decide to let a 45 caliber round go in my chest, that puppy's going to get the business end of it also, right? Let's be very, very clear about that. But no one ever thinks about that. But you would think that a safety officer would be aware of that and would take that into consideration, that by shooting a weapon in a house with kids behind the puppy, that even if you did shoot the puppy, that those kids are at risk. And this guy in the chat, a 10 millimeter.
They are underpowered rounds, aren't they?
10 millimeter? Absolutely not.
I wonder what I'm thinking of then.
Yeah.
I want to say there was a round. Was it the FBI made for some handgun they wanted?
So they were using the 10. They were planning to use the 10 millimeter, but because of over penetration issues, they developed the 40 caliber. So the 40 cal had a little bit. It was a more high pressure round, had a little bit more oomph than the 9 millimeter, but didn't quite have the over penetration issues that the 10 millimeter did.
Okay.
So the FBI was planning to go the 10 millimeter round, and ended up going with the 40 instead because of over penetration concerns. But we weren't trying to get into ballistic talks, but I saw that video. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. We'll put it in the description here. But yeah, we're going to have a discussion here pretty soon, even though Tim has told me I'm an idiot to do it. But we have to have the discussion at some point about what do we do with law enforcement. I understand we have to respect the office, and I do respect the office. But man, unfortunately, there's some really crappy officers out there. There are, and we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that there are some that guy that you used to get into it with in high school that was an absolute bully. That sometimes those guys get jobs in law enforcement, right? And do they necessarily change? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But is it a far more dangerous job than working on an oil platform? No, it's not. It really isn't. But that's not a very popular stance to take. But should we still respect them? Yes, absolutely, we should. Do they do a great job? Some of them do. But that doesn't mean that we should not be able to criticize the ones that do stupid things like fire weapons in homes at 30-pound dogs with children on the other side of the dogs. That is a very stupid thing to do. And I will continue to say that it shouldn't have been done, and he acted stupidly. So, did we lose you? We lost you. Or did they lose me?
I muted the mic because Trudeau's being noisy over here on his keyboard.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, we got a super chat from Mr. Deep Pockets himself, Asmodeus. Watch the vid for $20. Whew, man. Watch the video. F the cop. It was an obvious overreaction, and he didn't even show remorse afterwards. However, Hugh, based on some of your statements, I don't think you've heard some of the horror stories most cops have.
I have some very good friends that are in law enforcement, and I have heard a lot of horror stories. There's a reason why I'm not a police officer. There's a lot of reasons why I'm not a police officer, but one of those reasons is the fact that I don't want to have to put up with it. But it's a job just like any other job, and if you're going to accept that job, you are accepting that job with all of the good and all of the bad that comes along with that job. And one of the bad things is you have to deal with people. You have to deal with some idiots at times, and probably a lot of idiots because there's more and more of those every single day. But we're not going to sit here and make excuses for officers that do stupid things like fire weapons in homes with kids on the other side of 30-pound dogs. But at the same time, have there been times where officers have been vilified unfairly? Absolutely. And I've been just as loud in defending that situation as well. So, yeah, I'll be very honest about that. That Desert Eagle 50E, 50 AE, that thing's a beast. Save your money though. I like it. But man, for the cost of shooting it, yeah, it's not really worth it. And you definitely don't want it's definitely not for home protection. That thing's going through the entire house. I'll talk about over penetration. Yeah, that 50 AE is a beast. It's a hand cannon. I like it. It's fun to shoot, but yeah. But anyway, hey, Soder, we got to go out and go shooting one of these days. Unfortunately,
one of these days.
I know all of your guns.
I still need to destroy. So
I know all of your guns are at the bottom of the lake.
Yeah, I'll have to borrow yours.
We didn't catch any of them the other day.
Yeah, we also didn't catch any.
You didn't catch? Oh yeah, that's right. You guys were out on that lake.
Guns.
Yeah, didn't catch any fish or guns. So
no.
Yeah,
unfortunately not.
I think you guys need a better guide next time. So.
Well, he was kind of basing his choices of lakes on what I've done with other people in the past, and as a way to get Nick to come on the ice with us. So
yeah, that was. Hey, you guys caught a ricada.
So we did catch ricada. It took a lot of Milo's juice, but we actually did it.
Yeah. So
it was out for a good almost 2 hours.
Hey, so if you can get a ricada to sit still for almost 2 hours, obviously you had some pretty damn good bait. Because yeah, those things don't sit still for 10 minutes, let alone 2 hours. So you're doing good. You're doing good. So, but hey, guys, hey, if you are in the chat, it's and you are not currently subscribed to the channel, please make sure you press that little subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, and before you click off, make sure you like the video. Let's build the channel. I am trying to see what it's going to take to get my wife on the show. I know that she would have a lot to add to it. She's actually pretty interesting. So I would like to get Soder's wife on the show also.
Are we still going to do that Q stream thing?
Yeah, I would like to do a QAnon stream with those two ladies because they're pretty up to date on some of that stuff. So
I don't know about your missus, but for mine, I think we'd have to do like a 5 o'clock show.
Yeah, I mean, and we could talk about that, but we can definitely change the time around. But so we had a discussion in the Discord this afternoon about the name, because I just found out my wife has been in the Discord for quite a while, and I didn't know it. So yeah, right. So I had to go back quickly and like read some of the stuff I posted, make sure I wasn't out of pocket. But yeah, so she so I'm thinking that when she comes on the show, you have rackets and you've got lady rackets, which I think is great. I thought Miss Q was a good one. But someone thought that that Madam Q was pretty good. I thought,
Sounds like something Tim would ban. Or no, sorry, not Tim, Doug.
yeah, but I thought Madam Q
Oh
was
no,
pretty
Tim.
good.
Tim would do it too. Tim would do it.
Yeah, and then someone said Mistress of the Darkness. And yeah, my wife didn't like that one too much. She thought that
Sounds a little magical.
yeah,
Evil.
and she thought that was probably going to be she thought that would be a little bit demeaning to what she's had to put up with over the last 12 years. So she's not a mistress. She's earned her place as the madam. So so yeah, we'll let her have her moment in the sun. So but yeah, so we'll look forward to getting them on the show. You guys let us know what you think. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being involved, and be sure to catch us. We'll hopefully be back on here pretty soon. So be sure to check the do your wives sell CBD oil too? No.
I discourage my wife from signing up for such things.
Yeah, no, we yeah, my wife doesn't sell CBD oil. But yeah, oh well, essential oil, yeah. She'll sell the crap out of that stuff. So, yeah. So just watch out, Soder. If you end up getting any Young Living magazines with my wife's name on it, I have nothing to do with that, by the way. So
I will disown you. I will cut all ties with you.
But it cures cancer though. So you can't be mad at essential oils. They're curing cancer.
All life is cancer.
I don't understand why you have to sign up for CBD. Can't you buy it at just literally any store?
You can, but you might get like I'm assuming there's some sort of price break if you buy
everywhere
a bleep ton of it.
But you get higher quality stuff if you go through somebody you know, right? Yeah,
Right.
you don't want just any CBD. You want that high octane CBD. So
and if you go to a store around here, you might get cops following you back home and raiding you.
True.
Using meth tests on a CBD bottle and then throwing your life in disarray.
Yeah.
But if you get it through the mail, then you just have to worry about someone killing your business partner for your YouTube channel, and then them investigating you and reading your mail and checking and seeing that you have CBD oil being delivered.
I still want to find out where Kyle's guns are, and I would like to.
From what I heard, they went right into the schmelter.
Yeah, I wish that I could figure out, because I bet you they're going to show up at a police auction somewhere, and I think me and Nick were talking about it. We should do a crowdfund to buy all of Kyle's.
Are you saying that the feds that took his guns are corrupt and they do such a thing?
Oh man, I've bought a lot.
Have you no faith in the federal agents of the ATF?
And I tell you, I get my best deals at police auctions. So absolutely. So all right, well, hey guys, I'm not gonna belabor it. Hey, I've got to get to bed. It's been, I tell you what, going on Nick's streams, man, they're tough on the old man. They're tough on me. Mm-hmm. Holy smokes. So but yeah, I'm gonna carry myself to bed. But hey, great show, great opportunity to have you guys on. Thank you so much for lending your comments there, Mr. Trudeau, and
thanks for letting me on,
for making an appearance on the show. I appreciate it. And yeah, we absolutely care about and love each one of you guys in the chat. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us. Thank you, Tim Miller, for being on the show, and make sure you wish old Tim a happy birthday. Guys, we're in a really interesting place in our country, a really interesting place. But I think that no matter who you guys come in contact, always look to find common ground first and foremost. We're not trying to change people. We're just trying to teach people give them a better way to think. Give them a reason. Why would they want to do things differently than the way they've been doing it all along? And I think that we have the truth, and let's teach them the truth. So you guys have a great night. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you before Christmas. But if we don't see you particularly before Christmas, you guys have a happy holiday and a Merry Christmas. Good night.
Night, everyone.
Night.